Good morning, evening, and afternoon, everyone. This is Josh Reed from the Digital Events team here at Genesys, and let me be the first to welcome you all to today's webcast, Unlock the Transformative Power of AI for Contact Centers. As we always do, we're going to start off with a couple of brief housekeeping items. First off, if you experience any problems viewing or listening to today's webcast, refresh your browser and make sure that it's up to date to support HTML5, as this usually fixes any console issues. Also, if you're having trouble seeing any of the windows, either the slide window or the webcam window, you can enlarge that window by dragging one of the corners and enlarging them in real time. And please note that this is an interactive experience between you and our three panelists today. So feel free to throw questions into the Q&A window, and we'll answer as many as we can at the end of our presentation today. However, if sometimes, as it does, if time gets away from us, and we aren't able to read your question aloud during our live Q&A, don't fret. We'll actually follow up with you via email within the next few business days. And also note, if you have to jump early or for any reason you feel like you're running out of time, don't worry. We actually are recording this, and you'll receive an on-demand recording link via On24 within the next few business days. So just be on the lookout for that. And also, we have a resource list here below the Q&A window. You can actually access those resources at any time during the webcast. They'll open up in a new tab in your browser, and they won't take you away from the webcast. But these resources expand on today's topic of AI in contact centers. And also, we encourage you to participate in our brief survey. That's the last icon on the left of your widget bar. We'd love to collect your feedback on today's presentation so that we can tailor these webcasts to what you want to hear in the future. And as I always say, short and sweet. So today we have three excellent presenters excited to discuss how AI-powered chatbots and voicebots can achieve customer experience sustainability. So with that being said, I'm actually going to hand things off to our moderator today, Chris Connolly. Chris, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Josh. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We've got a pretty exciting agenda that we're going to share with you today. But first, I want to introduce some of our speakers. You might have met them before. If not, you're going to hear from them today. First is Anthony Pazamard. He's the head of applied conversational AI at Google, looking after contact center AI. He's presented with us before, and we're very lucky to have him back today to talk about some of the innovations and evolutions of this space. Including that is Ritu Joyti, who's the Vice President of Artificial Research at IDC. So welcome both of you, and myself, Chris Connolly, Vice President of Product Marketing here at Genesys. If we look at our agenda, we're going to look at some insights from IDC, what the world looks like today, and really looking at how we unlock the power of artificial intelligence and apply that in our domain, in contact center specifically. We're also going to have a panel discussion, and please feel free to ask us questions now, or if you've got something that's on your mind, put it in the Q&A window, because we're going to get to it very, very soon. We also want to talk about some of the things that you can do right away to improve your customer experience using artificial intelligence. And we're going to recap on some of the key takeaways from the research and some of the experience from Genesys and Google in implementing this technology in the real world. And then lastly, we want to hear from you. So if there are any questions, please, as Josh said, put them in the Q&A window. We will get to them live. So with that, thanks for kicking off, and I'm going to hand over to Ritu Joyti from IDC. Welcome, Ritu.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be a part of this webinar today. So before we kind of delve into some cool insights that we got from a joint study we did together earlier this year in May 2020, let me first level set the stage here. We all know today that customers no longer base their loyalty on price or product. Instead, they stay loyal with companies due to the experience they receive. Customer experience has fast become a top priority for businesses, and offering 24/7 customer support is more important than ever, especially during these uncertain times. As per our research across most industries, brands of all sizes have started to push heavily towards increased automation in their customer service, as well as employee self-service, sales, marketing, human resources, IT help desk. So you might wonder what has really changed. Most of these brands are now looking to conversational AI as one of the key drivers for that automation. And as you know, conversational AI allows brands to use natural language processing and machine learning-based tools to support both their customers and the agents who support these customers. And these, the conversational AI chatbots and voicebots, they're becoming way more sophisticated these days. They incorporate bias and explainability and exploit natural language through general purpose question and answer capabilities. So what we did earlier this year is that we ran a joint study, and the study was focused on understanding what is the value of contact center AI. And through this objective study, we wanted to validate the benefits of contact center AI in enterprises. What's the business ROI? What is the improved customer experience metrics? How does it help the customer service agent efficiency? And before I get into the stats, let me just quickly walk you through some of the demographics of the study. So we ran a global study. It consisted of about 407 organizations worldwide. 50% were from US and Canada, 25% were from France and UK, and the remaining 26% were from Australia, India, Philippines, and Japan. We had a good mix of the industry. We had folks from financial institutions, insurance, telecommunications, and the rest of the industry. We made sure that we were polling or surveying the folks who had the decision authority. We had a good balance of companies of different sizes, as well as different types of customer handling formats, people who were having internal contact center or had an external contact center, as well as some internal customer service functions. And we had a broad range of respondents from different levels of customer service agents, starting from as small as 20 customer service agents. So with that, let me kind of before level set that, what we are seeing in terms of what are the three AI-driven components that are transforming the contact center today. So there are three components. The first is the virtual agent, the second is the agent assist, and the third is the insight. So virtual agent is basically a platform for creating voice bots and chatbots to automate customer interactions with voice or text and hand off the conversation to a live agent when the bot is unable to help a customer. So that's the first one. The second one is that an agent assist. So it's a platform that integrates into the agent desktop that uses AI to augment agent interactions with customers in the real time and provide turn-by-turn guidance and automated surfacing of relevant knowledge bases. So it really, really helps the agent become more efficient with augmentation of AI capabilities. And the third one is Insight. It's basically a module that uses natural language processing to identify the call center. Why did the customer call? What were the call drivers? What was the sentiment? And this helps the contact center managers learn about customer interactions and improve call outcomes. So how has 2020 changed customer service? We all know what's going on in the industry today. And when we asked them that what were the top difficulties that they were facing adjusting to the new stay-at-home mandate, not a surprise, but 39% of the respondents, the demographics that I just shared with you, they shared that they had higher than usual call volumes. And we all know the reasons why. But in addition to that, the situation that really compounded the problem was that there were fewer agents available. 43% of them reported that they had a few number of agents available to respond to this higher than usual call volumes. Partly, some of them were, reporting sick, or they were not able to respond to the work because of the changing dynamics, as well as because there were more than usual call volumes. They were not even prepared with that level of, number of ratio of the agents needed to support that kind of call volumes.
So this is particularly interesting.
I'm going to back
up.
Yeah, please.
Thanks, Ritu. And these are really interesting stats. 2020 has been an interesting year for all of us. So if we look at those stats that Ritu just presented, we're curious about you. What are you seeing in your world, whether it's in your contact center, if you operate one, or in your clients, if you're a partner of ours, or you're helping operate a contact center? Are you seeing the increase in chat and call volumes, or are you seeing a decline? So I'll give that a few more seconds to get a few more responses. But I'm particularly curious to see what results we get off the back end here. I'll give that 1 or 2 more seconds. All right. Well, Ritu, you couldn't be more right. Your research kind of confirms exactly what our audience is seeing as well, with, I guess, unsurprisingly, 81% of you seeing an increase in call and chat volumes in 2020. And that presents unique business challenges. How do you handle that increase in call volume or interaction volume or chat volume, just with the same resources that you have at the moment? So, Ritu, moving on a little bit here, in terms of being prepared for that stay-at-home mandate that a lot of us have seen, what have you seen in the research in financial services?
Yeah, I think the most important point to level set here is that the dynamics are changing dramatically. The survey we conducted was in the month of May 2020, and 3 months has changed quite a lot of the situation, but we caught this into right in the middle of COVID situation. And when the stay-at-home mandates were done, not a surprise to us that very well prepared was only 1/3 of the respondents. And I'm not surprised to see the other part of the result that I share this in the slide is that the financial services and U.S. organizations were the best prepared. So you might sit and think, what led to this? And, IDC as a research firm, we spend a lot of time advising our end users on what they really need to do. The correlation here is that the organizations who were more digitally transformed, were there in their highest stages of maturity of digital transformation, they were definitely well prepared. And you can see that there is a direct correlation between that and even the financial organizations. They have been embarking on their journey much longer and earlier, and that's why we could see that correlation. But now I will share in one of the upcoming slides here that what the organizations are doing to be better prepared next time, and that's more important. So I would like to focus on the forward-looking approach, and I'll walk you through that in a couple of slides.
Awesome.
So with that, if I go into, yeah.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So the next one is basically, we had asked them that the percent of customer interactions that is happening through these newer channels, right? And again, I would like to reiterate on the point here that this is the average that I'm presenting here, right? So there are a couple of organizations who might be better prepared than the other, and the volume and the percentage might change, but this is the mean and the median value, right, we're sharing here. So there could be a possibility that the U.S. organizations, if I presented a data cut just for that, it could have been a little bit different. But not surprisingly, if I look at it from a mean and median perspective, a very small percentage, and again, factor it that this is May 2020, was happening through virtual agents. This number, I suspect if I ran the survey today, it would be a little bit higher than this. But it's a small percentage. Yeah, exactly. And the agents, the Voicebots and Chatbots percentage will also dramatically change, right? Most of them were originally doing IVR. But before I move on to the next slide, another very interesting stat that I want to share here is that we spend a lot of time talking to the end users and do additional research as well, that what is really coming up and shaping up in addition to just the Voicebots and Chatbots is the computer vision aspects to it, right? Their computer vision has become more mature with image recognition, achieving significant improvements thanks to deep learning techniques. Computer vision and CRM is very in its early stage, and it's far from being widely adopted. But if I sit back and think at the rate at which things are changing, it will be relevant across the entire customer journey. It will be a true force multiplier for adding more essential insights for customer upsells and cross-sells. So that is something that we all need to look at and watch, and that's going to shape up big time in the near future.
That's really amazing. And I guess if I look at these stats, and just before we move on to that next slide, there's an obvious question. We're seeing voice agents and chat agents in this case really low at only 8%. And I guess, Anthony, I'll put this question to you. What do you see? Yeah. Why do you think this is so low at this point in time?
Well, I can't really blame customers and on a low adoption of virtual agents for voice and chat. If you look historically, you look back 2 or 3 years ago, either you have an IVR that forces you down a tree, or the chats are really just about routing you to the right agent. So I can't say the bots on voice or chat were really good, to be mild in my assessment. But that is changing. Was saying, like, this is the technology that enables us to deliver very high quality bots, which means they understand what you're saying, they can drive the conversation, they can answer questions, do back-end fulfillment, actually deliver value to a customer. This is more new, in fact, in the last 2 years, I would say, and really taking off. So on that, yeah, 8% kind of makes sense. What we're seeing across customers, some don't use those channels at all. Some, the ones who do use them, are around 15-ish, 20% of volume. So that 8% average doesn't surprise me. It's very in line with our customers. And that low adoption, if you look a year from now, it's going to be completely different graph.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really, it might be low today, but this is where the growth factor is. And we're expecting to see the same in our customer base at Genesys. We are constantly inundated with inquiries on how do we apply the virtual agent technology. Ritu, I guess, again, coming back to current times and the research that you've seen, how are contact centers adapting to the modern world and the things that are going on today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not an easy feat, but I always love to say that there's no choice. Customers have to do this, right? In order to kind of, being innovative, improving on the customer experience, but at the same time, not compromising on the operational efficiency. And it's a great balance that customers need to do. So it all starts with me. I mean, this is universal across all AI initiatives, but it's very, very prevalent here. Culture. Transforming the culture where customer insights is democratized. Every employee becomes a change agent for the customer. I cannot emphasize this more, because in the case of AI, sometimes people are a little bit paranoid because of certain other, it's just getting the comfort level, trusting it, and there are lots of advancements happening in that area. But once you have that culture, you're willing to kind of understand where the customer needs are. This is really going to be day and night for the customer experience. And at the same time, you will be playing a very active role in building, working with the tools and technologies and the suppliers and the offerings to kind of make and improve your trust in the AI systems as well. So that's one. The second is that, gone are the days when people are kind of, doing metrics of measurement in isolation. Today, people are trying to bring them together. Their AI KPIs and AI metrics have to closely align with how they're measuring their customer experience metrics, right? So they are both evolving so that there's a huge amount of emphasis on improving the experience and improving the measurements and aligning them together. And the third and the last thing is that, there's a huge amount of emphasis on human efficiency. And there was a lot of debate going on for some time that, AI is going to take over the human jobs and all, but in our experience, at least in the foreseeable future, we see that it's making us way more efficient. It is helping us to be more empathetic. It is giving us real-time guidance. So these are the three important things. Of course, there are other parts of it, but these are the recurring themes there that we are seeing in customers, how they're doing, what they're doing to adapt to the newer customer contact center scenarios today.
Awesome. And I think
that's an important point, Ritu. Yeah, just one point here on Ritu. The survey earlier was 80+% of people saying they see their volume go up. I think that's where really AI can help, is to avoid having to increase your contact center resources by 80% to answer that need. So that's really where we're seeing actually a lot of usage of AI for contact centers, is to kind of temper that growth of volume and make sure you have operational efficiency across your contact center without adding more people. It's not about a reduction of people. That's not what we're seeing.
Exactly.
So it's
not about replacing. Yeah, it's not about replacing human beings. It's making them more efficient so they address the changing dynamics of the industry, right? Because the volumes will definitely increase, but we cannot go in a linear way of hiring more and more people to kind of meet the demands, right?
Exactly.
You're spot on for that. Yes.
And so our audience can maybe discern what other customers are doing in this space. And that's a great example. It's not about replacing people, and maybe that's one of the big business drivers of just handling more. Are you seeing, and I guess this question is for both of you, are you seeing other business drivers in the application of this artificial intelligence that are not correlated, that are maybe not volume related, but other benefits of using applied machine learning and AI to deliver a new experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
yeah, go ahead. Richard.
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony. Yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
No, I was going to say, yeah, business driver. What we're seeing is, the customer would comment first thing about operational efficiency, cost reduction. That's kind of the first thing they have in mind. But the reality is, when you start doing a contact center and put contact center AI in your contact center, you're really transforming your customer experience across all channels. And the business driver is to provide a coherent experience when you're on chat, when you're on voice, when you're on your web or your mobile app, where the engine behind it, the AI behind it, is able to manage across those channels, switch channels, understand what was said, the context, the past history, etc., and provide you a unique voice for the company to that customer or that user. If you talk about organizations. So I think that the business driver is really having that coherence across the board and having a very wonderful experience, no matter the channel, no matter the choice that the user, the end user or customer is making. They get that experience across all channels in a very unified way. I think that's a big business driver.
Agreed. And it is also reflected in our study here, which I'm just going to share the chart with some of the stats from there. But of course, better customer experience, we're all talking about it. But because of usage of these, transformative AI technologies, it's not just the consistent experience, which is very, very critical, but it's also faster resolution to issues. Because enriching the human agent with the insights in real time to provide that timely response and a more intelligent response, for lack of a better word here, is really, really kind of being transformative. So it's like, operational efficiency, consistency in experience, but also getting the response, the fastest response in the fastest time in the most intelligent way. This is what AI is known for. It can do just through volumes and volumes of data, through pattern recognition, get insights, and with advancements in natural language processing, can serve through tons and tons of data and get you the right insights at the right time. That's another very huge advantage. So it's overall improving, bringing a good, we also, IDC research, we also say that there's a huge correlation between customer experience and employee experience. And by usage of AI technologies, you're not just making the customer happy, but you're also making the employee happier, employee more efficient, and that has a direct correlation on the customer experience. When many times we all come to work, and if we are in a happy mode, we are more excited to serve our customers better, right? So there's a direct correlation there, which the advancements in AI technology is helping, and that's why the human agent efficiency and human agent empowerment and augmentation is so fundamental to the successful adoption of this. And, people can go to the other parts of the chart, but I also emphasize that empathy, because you can understand, remember in one of the slides before I was talking about where you could actually understand the sentiment, you can understand the rationale of why people are calling you, and you could react in that particular situation in a much more empathetic way, because when you have that kind of intelligence real time, it's way more powering to the human agent. So this is very, very much aligned to what we are kind of seeing from a bigger picture, and the survey insights are also aligned to that. So before I move on to the next set, I just wanted to say that, I think, Chris, you asked this question. So what are the customers doing? Of course, they are primarily what are the top reactions? But we had also teed up a little bit of a question in the survey that, because of this crisis, this is not a one-time, this could happen again. How do you make yourself a more resilient organization? So what are the new IT investments that, this experience has taught the customers and what they're doing it? So the three things that you see here big is that, in the past, sometimes people kind of sit and decide whether we want to be on a public cloud, scenario. This has really accelerated that, and people are kind of seriously looking into it. The second is that, the maturity, which Anthony also mentioned, and I also mentioned, and Chris, you mentioned at the start of the presentation, is that the conversational AI technologies have improved so much in leaps and bounds in the last 12 to 18 months. And because of that, there is a sophistication in the response. It's not just rules-based yes and no. There is a significant amount of depth in the answering of the questions and answers, right? So people are getting more comfortable with the chatbot and also an omni experience, whether they're working through a live chat or through this chat or through an IVR, everything, they want that consistent experience. So there's much more, willingness to embrace it. And last but not the least, there are other factors, but digitization. I mean, we have been saying this for a long time that, accelerated 2 years of digital transformation has happened in 2 months, and it has strictly accelerated the digital transformation. So increased digitization in the customer, environment is really kind of, the investments that people are going to make. And IDC has predicted that, while we are in grim times, the investments in AI and the embracing of AI technologies to make themselves more resilient and be a thriver in the next new normal is something that AI will play a very significant part in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to maybe echo something that you said there about providing empathetic customer experiences. And now more than ever, I feel like we need to have empathy for our fellow human. We're all going through something this is a generational thing, something we haven't seen in many generations. So what we're experiencing now is different, but crisis creates opportunity, and we're also seeing that this is actually been a bit of a nudge along, as you've said, Ritu, to some of the applications of AI. So I want to talk a little bit about how we're seeing this technology start to be applied in 3 major use cases. So I'm going to echo back to something which you said earlier with Voicebots, Chatbots, and Agent Assist, and really just take you through very quickly on what those are and how they might be applied and why you might apply them in your organization. So the first, if I could really summarize a lot of that upfront processing, is Voicebots. And we're at a point now with the technology, with natural language understanding, with speaker recognition, a lot of that powered by Google, to really understand phrases better than we ever have before and elicit customer intent so that we can have a much more guided experience. And if you've been around the industry for any length of time, like myself, you know that in the 2000s, it was a single word that was being said and it could detect that piece of recognition. And then we had to build these complicated speech IVRs to deliver an experience. And really today, what we're seeing is your IVR is a voice bot. And that's the evolution of the contact center technology, artificial or machine learning being applied in our space. Which begs the question, why would you do that? What is better than my IVR today? And it really is that natural language processing that allows your customers to speak in plain speak and to get to an outcome much more quickly, which ultimately improves their experience. But it's not just that upfront or self-service experience that benefits from a voice bot. It also means that by the time that customer gets to an agent, the agent has a better understanding of what's going on as well, because we're using CCAI in this case to elicit the intents, fill in the slots, and really have a more complete picture of that interaction. And again, overall, it sort of rolls into that improved customer experience. We're going to go into a little bit more about the Genesys and Google partnership in just a few seconds. The other major use case that we see is chatbots. And I want to really say from the outset, chatbots doesn't mean web chat. Chatbots can be applied on any textual medium that Genesys are able to route using the very same technology, natural language processing that you see in voice, as you see in text, and applying that to WhatsApp, WeChat, Apple Business Chat, of course, web messaging as well, and asynchronous messaging. All of that same technology, because Genesys can route that, we've connected that with Google Contact Center AI. You can take advantage of the machine learning that's being applied there. Very similar experiences that we're seeing in the voicebot world, but in the chatbot world, but maybe with some richer experiences depending on the medium that they're operating in. And what I mean by that is with asynchronous media or web messaging, you've got the opportunity to actually insert carousels and images and mix that with text. And the bot can actually do some pretty sophisticated things in that, including complete self-service interactions, but be on your orchestrated platform that brings in the right technology at the right time, so that when it does get to an agent, that entire conversation is seen and you can actually act on it in real time. And then lastly, and this is probably the one that I think is the most leading edge, but one that we probably expect to see more and more adoption as we go forward, which is agent assist. And agent assist is what it says. It's providing artificial intelligence augmentation with the agent in the contact center to provide a better experience. And there's been, again, those leaps and bounds of how we integrate with this technology from an agent experience, from a desktop experience, from a voice experience, so that we're providing insights to the agent and surfacing them with knowledge in real time and really having a very augmented conversation. I want to pause on that one because, Anthony, this is absolutely in your domain, something that you talk about every day. So how is the technology at Google that we've talked about in Voicebots and Chatbots being applied in Agent Assist?
Yeah, and Agent Assist is, as you said, is a little newer in its technology, but it's really a breakthrough that's been enabled by the advent of voice and speech-to-text, in particular, speech-to-text technologies. Google has a long history of trying to understand speech, either through understanding YouTube videos to be able to search them and remove hate speech in YouTube videos, either through Google Home Assistant and understand all the requests from users. That's millions and millions of requests every year. And also through transcription of voice messages on phone. You have Google Voice and you can do your voice transcription, your voicemail transcription. So all that technology and voice search, obviously. So Google has put a lot of effort and R&D into understanding voice. And thanks to that, we can now propose real-time voice transcription and understanding of a conversation between an agent and a user, and really provide in real time the right suggestions, the right responses, the right document, the right flows that the agent needs to do their job faster. And that's really changing the game for agents. Ritu was talking about agent satisfaction. We're seeing that go up. We're seeing average handling time go down. We see call summary going down in terms of how much time they spend typing after the call disposition. We see first call resolution improving. I mean, on and on. Like, Agent Assist is really now the kind of little coach or assistive technology for agents, human agents in the contact center, enabling new experiences for the end user.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to come to another poll question in the interest of time. So from your perspective, what are you looking to implement? Any of these technologies, Voicebots or Chatbots specifically, in the next 3 to 6 months? Yes, no, or maybe 6 to 12 months. Is that a new thing? Is it something that you want to act on now? Is it something that is more future looking for you? I'm guessing the fact that you've turned up to this webinar today that is of interest to you, but we want to get a bit of a gauge to see if that gels with our research on how people are starting to adopt this technology. So I'll give that a few more seconds. Eyeballs on screen. And then I'll go to the poll results. Do we want to take a guess, anyone, on where people are going to land? All right, yes, 3 to 6 months and 6 to 12. Okay, I think the call out here is actually the people that said no, that are in the minority. So
well, maybe because they already have something. I don't know, maybe, because we saw 8% of people already have it. So maybe the no's are people who have something in place.
We should have put that option in. We should have said, I've already got it. And that no would have been a 1%. Well, that's wonderful. So I did see a question that came through as we're going here from Rick. And Rick, I hope I'm going to touch on some of your question. And the question here was how does Google and Genesys differentiate and add some capability and value? I want to talk about that, but I also, when we get into Q&A, I'm going to come back to your question and answer in a bit more detail as well. So when we think about Google and Genesys, these are two industry leaders. Genesys being an omni-channel contact center platform that really allows you to do journey orchestration, bring in multiple technologies from different vendors, and really orchestrate all of those together in a cohesive manner to deliver the very best experience that is out there. But you can't do it alone. And when we've looked across the marketplace, and I hope Google has done the same, it's really providing the best technology to our customers that integrates really, really neatly to deliver artificial intelligence capability inside the platform that maybe you have today, or the platform that you're thinking of moving to in the future. What that means is that if you look at artificial intelligence technology in isolation, you can do a lot. You can use APIs, you can build what you need to build, and that might take time. But there is a depth of capability within Genesys in our platform, in the cloud, but also in our multi-cloud platform for everyone else, that allows you to plug in these different technology components and take advantage of all of the routing, all of the orchestration services, all of the reporting, the analytics, the end-to-end conversation view, the widgets, the desktop. So that complete contact center package that you have strapped on with artificial intelligence technology as well. So Anthony, I know this is a long-running partnership now for us, at least from 2018. Yeah. Do you want to add any commentary around how Google Cloud and Genesys fit together?
No, I mean, this is a very exciting partnership. We've been at it. I think you were one of the very, very first partners that we talked to, and we made that partnership. The goal here for us was really to also leverage not only the innovation that Genesys is bringing to the market, but also leverage a lot of customers that have contact centers with Genesys in place and wanted to bring more AI, more capabilities. And we're seeing the opportunity here to avoid a rip and replace of your implementation and really upgrade whatever you had from Genesys. Genesys upgrading a lot of their own capabilities into their customer experience, but I think the agent assist, the virtual agent, and those capabilities are really things that we feel strongly about our capabilities, and having that as part of a Genesys platform is really powerful, I feel. So super exciting to have this in place.
I'm going to come to another question that's being asked in real time here about some of the joint customer use cases that we see from Google and Genesys. And I know just by coincidence, that is the very next slide that Anthony is going to talk to. But I'll give you an anecdotal example of a customer that's gone live with Google Contact Center AI and Genesys recently, where they reduced 26 speech IVR applications down to 1. And that, you know, if you've ever had to operate these or build these, you know the significance of every single one of those applications. Being able to use Dialogflow in this instance with Genesys Engage this customer, which was a telecommunications customer, was able to greatly reduce their managed applications down to essentially one application that's orchestrated by Genesys. And the way they did this is using some of the technologies that are on this slide, which, Anthony, I might hand over to you to talk about in a bit more detail.
And I will add something on that telecom customer. It was not in English, which is also one of the power of the Google platform, is we support quite a few languages for our CCAI, and this is a very big success story that was not only for English speakers. So I'll just leave it to that. So yes, as Chris mentioned, we have three main products as part of our CCAI portfolio to build virtual agents. This is a product called Dialogflow. That's we'll talk a little bit more about that. Our Agent Assist capability, named Agent Assist, very creative, will be there to help your agents both on chat and voice channels. And a Newborn Insights platform just launched in alpha actually yesterday, and will go GA pretty quickly after that. That is unlocking all the data that's coming in your contact center on chat and voice channel, and using all that data to help you derive insights, trends, search, help QA managers and training review calls, and really drive insight, sentiment, etc. is all in the Insights platform. So those are kind of the three products that you will see as part of the portfolio called CCAI at Google, and are available on the Genesys platform.
Fantastic. Now we're going to come to another question, and this is putting the elephant on the table, so to speak, which is my way of saying address the elephant in the room. Have you tried natural language processing with bots? And if so, which are the ones that you've tried? Because there are multiple choices out there that you can work with. And maybe the answer is no, you're not there yet, and you're maybe evaluating, or you've experimented, or maybe you're already live. So I'll give that a few seconds. The options here are Amazon Lex, Google Dialogflow, Microsoft Lewis, IBM's Watson, something else, maybe homegrown or a third party, or you haven't tried any of them. I know this is probably a multiple choice answer, but let's see where people land. And we've got a bit of an even split. It's certainly Lex and Dialogflow coming in at a tie, which is amazing. But also the call out here for me is the majority, and the majority haven't tried natural language understanding yet. And really, I would encourage you to maybe look at it. This is what we're talking about. It's the fundamental technology behind all of the use cases that we're talking about today.
It is a good time to try. It is a good time to try, because, I mean, this slide actually is relevant to it. You probably haven't tried because you think you've had very bad experience calling contact centers, and you really think those things don't work. In terms of NLU, Google has released quite a lot of paper, and actually Google even open sourced a very large transformer called BERT, which is transforming the NLU space right now. And Google has its own version of BERT, which is uses a lot more data. But that's where NLU has drastically changed in, let's say, 12 to 18 months. Drastically changed. Entity extraction, intent detection, the accuracy of intent detection and matching is much, much higher than what you were getting 2 or 3 years ago. So I think it's a good time to test it out. Obviously Google, as I mentioned earlier, is understanding speech and NLU for Google as a whole. Google search even is a core technology that is needed for Google to function. So the investment we're making there is obviously massive, because it's not just investment that's made for CCI, it's investment that's made for Google as a whole. Obviously, we're very, very careful about what data we use. We use public data, Google Assistant, YouTube, voicemail, etc. We're not using any other cloud customers' data, because that would completely breach our privacy and confidentiality. But the cloud customers do benefit from a lot of that research and investment that Google's doing in the space.
So, Anthony, I know people are really curious about some of these things. So I want to flash some of the stats and ask you to talk through them on conversational AI, which is what you lead at Google.
Yeah, and those are numbers. Those are some of the numbers that are a reflection a bit of that investment that we're making, and they turn into vast adoption from customers. Thousands and thousands of customers are using a Dialogflow, enterprise customers. Dialogflow has reached a big milestone last year. I think it was last next. It was around 800,000 or 900,000 developers on the platform. We actually reached 1.4 million developers on the platform the last 2 months, and it's still growing very, very fast. So Dialogflow has a massive public community that really helps people with creating bots. We support 32 languages for voice, and a lot more. I think it's 80 or something in chat. We have full integration with Genesys platform, which is the partnership here, which is awesome. But things like, our bots can handle 20,000 intent, for example, in a single agent. In a single agent, that means 1 entry point, and you can do 20,000 intent detection and route people throughout the entire company. You don't have to ask people to press 1 for service and 2 for support. Like this is all part of the conversation, and all kind of use cases, and switch between each of them. You call for billing first, and then you want to change your plan. All that is done in a single agent, thanks to that kind of capabilities. WaveNet is interesting. WaveNet is the ability to create it's text to speech, so it's the reverse. You're speaking to the bot has to speak back to you. And Google has released and developed and actually released the WaveNet technology to create voices that are very human sounding. And what we've realized is the more human sounding, the more engaging those voices are, the more the customers or users of the platform are actually engaged. So getting to a point where those voices are very, very human will help adoption of Voicebots in the field. And without ever deceiving customers, you never want to make them think they're talking to a human when they're talking to a bot. But having that engaging voice is very, very important to deploying bot, and that's available today. There's 150 or 60, I can't remember exactly, WaveNet voices available to you on Google platforms in many languages.
And it's funny, I'm going to pick up on something about WaveNet, which, again, for a contact center audience, this is quite transformative. If you think of the sometimes thousands of different prompts that are recorded as part of your call flows today, imagine and having to take that to a recording artist or someone in the contact center just to record that quick message. Imagine what that means for you when you can start to allow, you can just start to type them and allow the system to use a brand that is, to use a voice that is on brand for you, and choosing one of those WaveNet voices. That's a huge operational efficiency that is just built into the platform. And that kind of brings me to the peanut butter and jelly, the better together slide. And the reason for that is when we think about all of the things that go into operating and managing a contact center operation, Genesys has years of experience. Unlike where we put a bot in the front and have that as a disconnected, isolated experience, really what we advocate at Genesys is let your customer experience platform orchestrate that entire end-to-end customer conversation. Genesys has some artificial intelligence technology of its own with something we call predictive engagement that allows you to engage customers based on all of the data that we know and drive them to an experience that is very best for them. Sometimes that's a human. Sometimes that's a piece of content. Other times that's a bot. And using that upfront decision logic and orchestration, we can really optimize that end-to-end customer experience and bring in the technology at the right time. So I'm going to come back to Richu here for a second because we've got a couple of key takeaways, and then we want to get into your audience Q&A. So Richu, why don't you just recap for us some of the research?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I mean, I was listening to this whole conversation. It's really, really coming together so well in terms of all dimensions. So that's fantastic. And so if I actually kind of walk you through, in the study that we just talked about of 407 different organizations worldwide and across the different industry, there are folks who are early adopters of this technology. So kudos to them. And we asked them, what are your metrics and what are the rate of improvements that you're actually seeing today, and also what you envision it to be in the next 3 years. So very heartening to see. And I saw one question in the chat here that someone was asking that what is the ROI of this investment? Is it just the employee, human agent productivity? And if you see here, the early adopters, of course, they have seen improvement in efficiency, and that is one of the metrics. But the top three is not just efficiency of the human agent. It's actually better customer experience. They might be measuring it either through NPS or whether they're measuring it through customer lifetime value. So there are different measurements. The customers might be doing it, but that's number one. They feel that they actually can reduce the average handling time, right from someone who's actually giving you a call to making it most efficient and either just being answered by the voice bot or the chatbot, text bot, or passing it on in a reasonable amount of time at the right time with the right level of messaging to the human agent to be answered in the most diligent and the most efficient way. So the end-to-end handling time is greatly improved for almost 24% of them say, and improved call deflection, right? I mean, in certain situations, if you feel that the bot is not equipped to answer that, then it can be rightly moved on to a different means of communication. So those are the three most important, rate of improvements that customers are reporting. Of course, improvement of, agent efficiency, and all of that is extremely important, and improvement in operational efficiency. But I hope this answers the question that I saw in terms of the ROI. But this is something that we'll be constantly watching and running more extensive amount of research over the next couple of months and over the course of a year. And we'll be happy to report on more further interesting insights. So with that, I'll pass it on to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. So that's the ROI. Anthony, how do we do it? Tell me about the use cases. I think Anthony might be coming off mute there, but as he's coming off,
sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, so I lost my track. I lost my train of thought here. Too many windows. I was answering questions. So yeah, I mean the way you want to implement that is, and we're seeing that mistake happen in many customers, is they're trying to think about that customer experience transformation and start to want to change an entire BU. They take a full organization in their company and try to do a full change of that, and that's usually not the right way to do it. It's good to have that as the silver lining of all your transformation, but you can start with simple things, and we're seeing those simple things be deployed. We launched about 3 months ago in April, I think, a rapid response VA because of the situation. We had massive demand for a rapid response VA, so we launched that, and you could deploy a bot in 2 weeks for simple use cases. Return processing in retail, hours of operation in healthcare, balance inquiry in financial services. Those are simple use cases you can launch very, very quickly and get going with your customers and temper, a lot of that load that did increase actually with the current situation through the use of bot. And then you expand from there, adding more use cases as you go to fit into your broader customer experience transformation journey. But start small. You can start fast. That's the idea.
Wonderful. And lastly, before we go to Q&A, from a Genesys perspective, from a Genesys vision, we want to provide the most flexible AI-powered CX solution for the digital age. And really, if we break that apart, as you see, that's whether you deploy on-prem or in the cloud, depending on the business outcomes that you want to optimize for, breaking those silos across your organization, whether it's sales, marketing, or service, and really being able to orchestrate those experiences together. So now we get into questions. And so I'm going to start with a question that I'm going to answer myself. It comes from Susan, and it's about call deflection. What is call deflection? So call deflection, at the end of the day, means taking a customer that might otherwise consume a high-cost resource, like a human talking to an agent, to something that they could maybe self-service. So you're deflecting them from one experience to something that will satisfy them well. And increasingly, we're seeing that as a virtual agent experience, where for a customer, they want to get an answer quickly. Virtual agents can provide accurate, timely advice that you don't have to wait in queue for 5 minutes to get to someone that's going to tell you exactly the same thing. So that's call deflection. I'm going to go to another question here, and this is going to be, Anthony, for you, which is there a white paper on Google Contact Center AI for virtual agents on how to deploy it?
Oh, there isn't a white paper, no. And we do. That said, we do have quite a few SI partners that are not certified but trained on CCI and can deploy that very, very well. I can name a few, Quantify, SpringML, SATA, Systems, etc. are all very, very good SIs that have done many deployments, and I'm talking many, and can really help you through that journey of deploying, creating the bots and deploying them, and also helping you with your agent assist experience.
Absolutely. And I will mention there is a video out there that you can check out, which Genesys and Google created together, which articulates some of the experiences that you can achieve using this technology. Richard, next question's for you. Comes from Mary Ellen, and it says, Richard mentioned the democratization of data and changing culture. What tools do you see customers using to achieve the democratization of data, getting data out to the right people at the right time?
Oh, that's a great question. The very interesting thing today is that there is, it's not just usage of the structured data now, right? There's a lot of unstructured data that is being used today. There's semi-structured data. So there's a host of new set of breed of tools and technologies coming into place in terms of consolidation, one common data platform. But that's just the starting, just the tip of the iceberg, because how do you kind of transform the data? How do you kind of, make sure the right set of metadata is available around them? So it's a little bit fragmented market right now. There's one separate for unstructured data, something for structured data, but there are a couple of tools and technologies, including from Google and the other incumbents that we talked about, which they can reach out to me separately to get the specific names, but there are tools coming into for consolidation of different data sets, having a common metadata catalog, and also there are some advancements happening in transformational technologies to improve the using. In fact, AI is being used to even assess the quality of the data, to eliminate the biases in the data, to kind of do the whole automation data pipeline. So there are a whole bunch of tools, but essentially it's a little bit fragmented right now, if I have to say, but it's shaping very rapidly.
All right, so we have more questions that I think we're going to be able to answer in 5 minutes. So we're going to do rapid fire. Anthony, next question's for you, which is where are we seeing the ROI on chatbots versus increased staffing?
Yeah, so there's a few areas where you could get that. So the first one is when the chat reaches the agent, when the chatbot reaches the agent, usually there's a conversational chatbot that did a lot of the data gathering, trying to solve the answer first. So when the agent gets it, a lot of that information is already gathered, passed to the human agent, and then the call is obviously shorter because you don't have to redo all that data gathering. So there's a gain there. Second gain is a smart reply, which is something that we have in our technology, which actually suggests answers directly. And the human agent can click that answer. There's choices, usually 2 or 3 answers. They can click it, just edit it if they want, or just send it. So faster typing, more accurate responses, less typos. If you look at chat agents, they're always like switching back to fix a typo. That doesn't happen. And then at the end of also the document suggestion, knowledge suggestion, help the human agent not have to search and put somebody on post search either on Google or in their own internal systems to find a document. Those documents are automatically suggested through the agent assist, so that goes faster. And at the end of the call disposition is also shortened because all that conversation, the intents that were detected in that conversation are all put in a little summary that can be put on the case. So you're gaining efficiency in every step of the way there.
Wonderful. I'll take the next question from Kristen, which is where can I find more information about Agent Assist, how it works, what does the implementation look like, what can you do with it, and how it's being used by other customers currently? Genesys.com. So we would love to talk to you about that as an implementation partner with Google, about how real-world customers are using it, the benefits, the timelines, the whole lot. So very happy to engage with you on that. There is additional information on google.com if you look for Contact Center AI, which takes you through the Contact Center AI Agent Assist capabilities as well. My next question, Anthony, I'm going to come back to you on this one. This is from Darius, which is what level of effort does it take to tune the AI for multi-turn responses for it to be conversational? And I'll just for the audience benefit, the multi-turn responses is really when you're going back and forth in a conversation, so it feels natural. But Anthony, what's your answer there?
There's a few things in that question. So first thing I would say, the NLU model itself, the understanding model, does not need to be retrained or trained or do anything special. The one we provide out of the box for you is actually very powerful and can adapt. So how you're going to tune it is based on training phrases, like the accuracy of the training phrases and the appropriate training phrases to tell our NLU, what they need to search for in those sentences. That's on a one-turn basis. Multi-turn dialog flow supports many multi-turns conversation and can do all the back-end calls, have different paths based on the responses from those webhooks that you do in the back-end. So it's not per se technically complicated. Obviously, you need to adapt to conversation. So there is a level of effort. As I said, you can start in a couple of weeks and get 1 or 2 bots going, and then add more as you go. I would say it's overall it's going to be a journey because you probably have hundreds of use cases, but you can get started pretty quickly, and you do not have to retrain or retrain the model. This is done automatically by Dialogflow, even in a multi-turn environment.
Awesome.
It's hard to answer short, like in a short statement on this one.
That's okay. Look, it's really encouraging to see that we have so many questions. Just because we didn't answer them right now doesn't mean that we're not going to. I'm going to answer one last question and hand it back to Josh, our moderator here. So the question is from HCL, is there a specific version of Genesys that is required for CC AI to work? Guess what? The good news is we've integrated Google CC AI with all of our various capabilities across Genesys, Pure Connect, Engage, and Genesys Cloud. So no matter what platform you're on, we have something for you. We can look at your specific requirements and give you a path forward. So with that, Josh, I'm going to hand it back to you to take us through what's next.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. So like you mentioned, unfortunately, that is the end of our Q&A, but don't fret. Even though we didn't answer it live, we will follow up with you via email within the next few business days. So just be on the lookout for our prompt responses to you. So with all that being said, to wrap up, first, don't forget to take advantage of the additional resources within the resource list, specifically the Contact Center AI Success Kit, the IDC Spotlight, and the Genesys and Google Cloud Partnership page on Genesys.com. Be sure to click those before today's session ends, and they'll open up in a new tab in your browser and give you an additional information on today's topic. Also, after today's session concludes, you'll have the opportunity to fill out that brief survey that I mentioned before. We'd love and appreciate your feedback. And lastly, be sure to check out our new podcast, Tech Talks in 20, where we sit down with Genesys experts to discuss the topics that you want to hear in about 20 minutes. You can listen on our website as well as anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. So with all that being said, on behalf of Chris, Ritu, and Anthony, as well as the entire Genesys team, we thank you for joining today's webcast titled Unlock the Transformative Power of AI for Contact Centers. Until next time, have a good one, everyone.